All right, first off, I want to kick things off here by welcoming Ron Abramovich to our winter forecast video that we're putting together here. You are a Winter Wildlands Alliance board member
Yep,
as of just a few months ago. And formally, you are retired Idaho water supply specialist.
that's
Is
right.
that correct? Yeah. Can you give us a little background, Ron, on just how you got into all of this regarding snow and the connection between snow and water and what's going on in our mountains?
Oh, sure, but I'm not sure how far back you want me to go. Growing up in Cleveland, Ohio, I always played in the snow there and actually made little hills where we could take our sleds down between the houses as well. And my dad was a snowplow driver for the city of Cleveland too. So anytime it snowed, he'd always be going out there plowing the roads. So I got into watching him and learning about him. And then after high school, I ended up going to Colorado State University and got into hydrology. And really only took a few snow hydrology classes because that's all they really had back then. But after graduating hydrology, I ended up in Telluride, and even that's really where I learned to telemark ski back in the 80s. And I got lucky with my first job was with the snow survey in Salt Lake City with a USDA NRCS monitoring the snowpack in the West. So as a training position, I was there in Salt Lake for a couple years, moved to Portland for a couple, then I've been in Boise ever since 1991, talking about snow, weather, and flow basically, and sharing information with the end users on how to make the best decisions they can.
Yeah, I know people in Idaho have been reading your stream flow forecasts and your mountain snow updates for many years, and it's cool to be able to bring your knowledge and expertise to our Winter Wildlands Alliance members and supporters, and all of our snow school educators and folks that have been a part of this organization for a long time.
And I remember working with you back in the early 2000s with Snow School here as well too. So it's good to be back working with you
Yeah.
again too.
Well, we really appreciate all the support
So,
that you've given to Snow School for all those years. Um, your inside knowledge of the Snowtel system, and we figured out that way to connect thousands of kids to Snowtel data in their local watersheds after going to snow school and digging in the snow and measuring the depth and
yeah.
studying the water content of the snowpack. And with your expertise, we connected them to studying that for months after the snow school field trip. So it's
After, yeah.
cool to be able to continue the collaboration and partnership.
Yeah, it is. It's always fun to educate people as well too, because snow is so unique and there's so much to learn about it, and people like learning still and how it accumulates in the mountains during our winter and then gradually melts in the springtime, provides our annual stream flow. So it's a really unique situation here in the West and how dependent we are on about the winter snowfall.
Yeah, a lot of folks don't know that bit about how much of our water supply annually comes from mountain snow. That 70 to 80%, depending on like what watershed you're in the Western US. Like it is,
Yep.
it's a part of our everyday lives, and it's great to be able to like make that connection for folks. And we are right in kind of that peak stoke period of the year where we're really excited about the coming snow, about just the anticipation of the winter that is to come. And we put together this blog post and forecast, and I'm excited to dig into it a little bit here with Addie and you and talk through it.
People are getting really hyped about the season ahead, but the question on top of everybody's mind is what's the winter going to bring? What's this snowpocalypse that we talk about? Are we going to get one this year? And so I would love for you to dig in, Ron, and just give the people what they want to hear. Hopefully that it's going to be winter, but we'll see. I think your
Well,
expertise
hope
is really valuable here.
hopefully you want what I want as well too, a good snowy year. And so what's unique about here in the West, I'll start really quick and be brief, is the Pacific Ocean. And we can study the ocean temperatures and the atmospheric pressure above the ocean to see how it sets up. And the key part is when it sets up is between July and November. And that correlates with our winter snowfall and spring runoff. So it kind of gives us a 6-month indicator of which way we're leaning for the wintertime. So that's why we can talk about it a little bit with some knowledge behind us because of what's happening in the Pacific. Once it sets up, it's kind of like that for most of the winter. It may change in the mid-winter to back to La Nina or El Nino, but it's not going to change that suddenly, that quickly. So that's why this year we're favoring La Nina conditions with the cooler ocean temperatures there. So usually La Nina storms come into the Pacific Northwest with cooler, wetter conditions from Washington all the way across the Canadian border, basically. Each one is a little different as well, too. So we'll keep our fingers crossed that the storms come in our direction, but also bring snow to the Southwest as well, too, because they always need it down there as well.
Ron, could you explain La Nina for those who maybe don't know what La Nina and El Nino mean?
Well, basically, it's a warming and cooling of the Pacific Ocean. The Pacific Ocean is huge, and we're right next to it, basically, so it has a big influence on our weather. And so the ocean temperatures warm up during El Nino years along the equator from Peru out. And they were the first ones that really noticed it back in the year 1500s because the fishing got poor because of warm ocean temperatures. And so it's been an event that's been going on for a long time. I can't say forever because I don't know how long, but they would notice the warm temperatures. Then some years the temperatures would cool down, and that's La Nina conditions. And so there is one more third factor is a neutral, where it's kind of in between both of them as well too. And it typically flip-flops every few years between them based on the La Nina, El Nino, and neutral conditions.
One of the things that we have in the blog post is a handful of years that you and some of your colleagues have plucked out as potential analog years of comparison in terms of the snowfall pattern that we might see in North America. And I'll say this is something that we'll share with all of our snow school students and educators as they're making predictions and looking at snowpack accumulation in their local watersheds. And I'm wondering, can you explain a little bit about why you picked out the year 1982, the winter of 1982, as one of the leading analog years, in addition to a couple of others?
Right. So what I've learned over time is you can be a lumper and lump all the La Nina years together, or you can be a splitter. And if you have a little bit of additional information, why not be splitters? So we can fine tune the La Nina years by intensity, by extreme, moderate, or low intensity, by their strengths and everything, about how cold the water is or how warm it is during El Nino. And then taking it one step further is following Pete Parson out of Oregon, and he looks at the actual ocean conditions and comes up with these analog years to fine tune the forecast for this year. So he finds similar ocean patterns and uses those analog years, which was 1968, 82, and 2018. Then a runner-up year was 2002 also. And so we're lucky because we have daily data at some stations in Montana going back to the mid 60s. So we can see 1968 was a big year for them. 1982 was a huge year for us, and 2018 was about average, along with 22, I mean, in 2002. So it's early in the year. The snow's not really falling, accumulating on the ground. We're just going to get some of the first storms coming in. But we can start tracking these years to see which one of those analog years we follow or not. And maybe it'll be a different year totally, but this at least get us started thinking about what this year may turn out to be.
Yeah, well, I really appreciated that you picked out 1982 because that was a huge winter across all of the Western U.S. and looking into some of the news stories from that year, even through the Midwest and the East Coast, there was some phenomenal snowstorms that arrived that winter. So in this preseason period where we don't quite know what's going to happen, I was really fun to be able to look at that and imagine just an epic winter for everyone. So thank you for giving us that optimism.
Yeah, that was it was really a big year because I remember it was my first year in college. We went winter snow camping up on Cameron Pass, and we found this drift and dug a hole like 10 feet deep into the drift and everything. There was a ton of snow up there as well too. So it
Awesome.
was a good year. So
Sounds like fun.
it was.
We had other snow scientists weigh in on our blog post there and submit some kind of predictions and forecasts. And there was a discussion of lower elevation snowtail sites versus higher elevation ones. That things were, especially in lower elevations over the last 40 some years, you can see the peak snowpack, declining over time,
Right.
as a result of warming trends over the
Yeah.
last 40 years.
Yeah, basically we're looking at the warmer temperatures as well too. So in the transient zone like Boise and the valley locations where many of the population lives, we don't have the snowpack sticking around as long as we used to. So it kind of comes and goes. And all of our sites are actually in low, mid to high elevation. We don't monitor much in a valley floor because that doesn't really provide the runoff in the springtime.
Mm.
And so some of the lower elevations, like the town of Prairie, there's probably less snow accumulating there as well because of those temperatures. And the higher elevations, they're still holding the snow, but probably not as much as they used to in the big picture.
Yeah.
And so what you have to do is kind of look at the individual years, what's causing the more La Nina storms or El Nino years where you get less snow as well too. Because we've seen those trends as well too, some of the cycles we've gone through in the past conditions. And what we know now is we're seeing a greater degree of climate variability. Compared to 60s and 70s, the snowpack would gradually build up steady, but now we kind of do more of a stair-step increase. And we get more of our winter snowfall in a few storms because it's bigger storms that are coming in versus historically would be a gradual increase. So what we've seen is the spigot's either on or off.
Right.
So enjoy it when it's on.
Yeah.
What we have seen, I was going to mention too, compared to the early 2000s, we were kind of in the doldrum patterns there. We're waiting for weather to happen. And right now we're not waiting for weather because the extreme weather is happening around the world and not just here.
Right.
And so that's why we're still looking good for this year with the potential for a big year as well too. I did look at some of the spring event storms because Yellowstone had that big runoff event a couple springs ago. So it took the roads out there by Gardner and everything. And some of those big events have happened in the past also up on the Flathead River in Montana, so back in the 60s. And so some of those spring events have occurred in the past. We just don't always remember them because they've happened so long ago. This is really noticeable last year, like you were talking about the snowpack and everything accumulating. And then from April 1 was the last snow that really fell. And then our weather really, the spigot turned off from April, May, and June for the spring precipitation. We hardly got any precip in the west. And so that's why even though we had a decent snowpack, a lot of it went underground and evaporated. It just didn't run off with so little spring precip is when you need it the most to add a little bonus to the runoff.
Ron, thank you so much for joining us. Really excited to have you on our board of directors, and your expertise is amazing to share with our audience. We'll keep tracking the La Nina winter and see how it plays out, and we'll check back in mid-season, hopefully when there's some snow on the ground and we can get outside together and bring the people what they want.
Sounds good. Thanks for having me.